Alright, homies, welcome back. We are back to a Toku-sized video, right? Because this is a perfect timing because, like, Gozyuger, right? The currently airing, well, not currently because it's over, right? Gozyuger has ended its, oh, that's not it, right? Hold on. There you go. Has ended its 49th episode, and you know, Gozyuger is over, right? So perfect opportunity for us to do a number one Sentai Gozyuger review. I'll probably have to make it like an episode title. It would be like it's number one, but it lost its path or something like that, you know. We'll explain as the review like goes along, you know. Yeah, we have to like throw out the what was it? The channel points that I have like saved. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I gotta change like that. Shit. Yeah, that was it. I gotta change it like downstairs, you know. Yeah, so we're doing a number one Sentai Gozyuger what was it, review, right? So yeah, we're gonna be talking about the pros, the cons of Gozyuger from episode 1, the beginning, all the way to the number one final battle and who is declared winner, the ending, right? So yeah, so we did like a episode 1 impression, so that just saves us a little bit of like the foreplay, a little bit of the foreplay, right? I'll keep that word. So number one Sentai Gozyuger, right, follows right after like episode 1 where we left off with that video, 5 ringed warriors, and we meet like each one of them, you know, over the course of Gozyuger. So how the reviews are like going to work is that we say like the plot of Gozyuger, right? What's the story of Gozyuger from since like episode 2 all the way up to like the end, and we'll also cover like movies, things like that. So yeah, it should be like a fun review, right? Because like we've done these for like you know, since when was the first Toku review I did? I think it was like Saber. Yeah, I think it was Saber. Kamen Rider Saber, like back in 2021, something like that. Yeah, this shit was mad long, and I'm still doing it to this day. 5 years later. 5 years later. Number one Sentai Gozyuger. Since episode 2, we got introduced to 4 more characters, right? 5 if we get to like, you know, let's say past like the 4. Ryuki Bakugami Goju Tirano, the super zealot of the Tega Sword, Rikuo Byakuya, a disgraced idol that wants to reclaim his spot, Goju Eagle Kinjiro, who is actually like an old man, like an old ass man, but through the power of Tega Sword becomes young again to ignite his party fever. And then we have Sumino Ichikawa, right? Goju Unicorn, a high-class and luxurious PI investigator, detective, you know, shit like that. So, and then over the course, we got the villains, right? The Bryden, right? Led by Tega June and her commanders, Fire Candle, Bouquet, Mr. Shining Knife and Sweet Cake, and another individual, an AI technology president, Kuon. So yeah, let's go over like, you know, the episodes, because man, I have to like sit through my thoughts about Gozyuger, and yeah, like post thought process, post critical thinking about Gozyuger, right? But let's get with the plot, right? So we talked about like the Gozyugers and their reasons of existing, right? Let's start with like Kinjiro, right? Who starts off as like the old man, but wants to reclaim youth and be a party person, right? Yeah, his shtick is like simple. It's like meant to be like the the joke character, because it's a very like jokey thing to say, like party people, but it gets more depth like later on. Then we have the other crazy whackbot character, like the evangelist, like Ryugi Bakugami. Actually is like the son of a prodigal like doctor, the house of Bakugami, right? They're all like famous like surgeons or doctors, but he later found out he was like a puppet, like, you know, just with no free will, until he found God. I have seen God, right? Then we have well, I'll save Sumino, but Rikuo, who is a former disgraced pop idol that lost his fame because of like a scandal, but tries to make it back to the top. He still is like an idol for some reason. Like, how do you have like a disgrace and then falling off like grace, you know, things like that, but somehow it works in Gozyuger, you know. And then we have the most interesting character. One of the most interesting characters is Sumino, right? A PI, you know, high-class and luxurious detective, is set out on finding the truth about what happened to her sister, Oto, who got, like, kidnapped. And of course, we have, like, Hoeru. How can we forget about Hoeru? The not antisocial, but he is, like, just awkward lone wolf, right? Fights super rough, right? He lives for the fight, to an extent, and has a weird, complicated history with another bad guy from Brighton, the unemployment guy, who always skips out on his like rent, you know. And over the course, we meet like Fire Candle, who is the fiery commander of the Brighton, Bouquet, who is the tactical, logical commander, but also has a fangirl crush, idol crush on Rikuo, and it's the funny gag of her not being able to deduce Rikuo's connection to him and Goju Leon. Shining Knife and Sweet Cake, who also have a unique history. And then there's the creepy asshole, who is Kuon, who actually turns out to be Hoeru's big brother, but is so creepy, so malicious, so fucking like cringe that I just wanted to like punch him. And it gets even more crazy later down the line. And then there's Tegajun, who is like the commander of the Brightons. Oh shit, yeah, like, well, we can't say that, because otherwise Twitch might catch that and we'll be like in trouble. Like the just let's say the creepy guy. Let's not go into that specifics, you know. I'll have to like blur that out on like in edited form. Yeah, I might have to like blur that out in edited form when the video becomes available. Then we have like Tegajun, who is like the commander of the Brighton, and yeah, is a artificial creation from Tega's sword. Should have said brother's love. Yeah, in a way, but we'll get to that. Tegajun is like an artificial creation, spawned in, right, in a sense. I don't know if she was created by like Tega Sword. I forgot about like that part, but she wants to make it a point where she is better than Tega Sword. Like that's her whole shtick at the first and second arcs until another villain comes in, and that's the Calamity. And the Calamity are like spread out like here and there. Like it's just like the darkness from like Kingdom Hearts or some shit like that. The darkness sweeps over and has claimed countless Super Sentai like lives or shit like that, you know? So you see like the commanders of the Calamity, like they all represent catastrophes that happen in IRL. Pestilence, famine, I forgot like what were the other two though, but like they're big dog commanders, right? And they are in charge of enacting like human suffering. Like one of them goes like ham is like when there's life there's death, you know, like shit like that. So we come into like some crucial points in Gozyuger, right? We talked about like the main important key characters. There are side characters that I would like to like talk about, but I just want to go over like main plot and talk about, you know, some of the more I want to talk more about the pros and cons of Gozyuger, because I feel like those are important more than anything. Plot stuff is just like you can watch all the episodes on like Tokusatsu or like any of those like websites that have like, you know, Tokusatsu in them, right? Major canon events that happen in Gozyuger, which is the first universe takeover by Bryden, where yeah, she like force kiss. Yeah, Tegajun just like invades like Earth and force kisses Tega Sword, and then spawns in or births the next god, Tega Knuckle, who actually becomes Goodburn, and that is our 6th ranger of Gozyuger, Goju Polar, right? Goju Polar is a self-proclaimed god, but actually has like reason. He was the previous universe warrior. He was the previous universe warrior of the previous ring battle, right? Everybody calls him, or he self-proclaims himself, Godness Kumade Machido, or Godness Goju Polar, right? The motif is like he's a icy like polar bear. It's actually like this thing right here, right? This is like Tega Knuckle or Goodbird, right? Like Tega Knuckle, voiced by Jaden Yuki from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the Japanese version, right? So that's really funny. Right, so that's the first canon event. The universe is reset, and then comes in Goju Polar, right? Hanging around with the gang, interacting with the gang. A little later, mommy. 9814? Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So canon event 1 is done, and then we are introduced to Goju Polar and some side characters that are very like crucial and important, right? Especially Sumino and to Rikuo, right? Because they both go like hand in hand with the second arc of Gozyuger. That is Otto, who somehow miraculously comes back with the help of like the Sentai rings. She becomes like the first Shinken Universe Warrior, Shinken Red. Which, by the way, right, Gozyuger is an anniversary season, so all of the dudes that partake in the Universe War, are borrowing powers from previous Sentai Reds, right? So one person can be like Universe Warrior Maji Red, or a Prime Minister could be like Universe Warrior Don Momotaro, right? The sky's like the limit. There's also like an interesting thing that doesn't get delved upon, or doesn't go too deep upon in the Sentai rings, but that will be like saved like in like 3rd arc or like 4th arc, you know, of Gozyuger, right? Or they categorize the arcs in Gozyuger as like rounds, right? So 1st round, 2nd round, right? Hey, fighting games, right? You should give fighting games a shot. All of Gozyuger is like based on like fighting games. It's so funny. Oh, right. So we get like Oto Ichikawa, who's the little sister of Sumino Ichikawa. She becomes like full, like, you know, what's that like subgroup in what's that like popular group in Japan that you see in like anime, manga, you know, things like that, like gals, or GYAURUS, gyarus, right? She becomes like a full-on like that like archetype. Then we find out like some more stuff about like Oto, that she was kidnapped by a gray-eyed man who happens to be affiliated with Rikuo, and that person is Rei, a profound like doctor that was working under the Bakugami hospital firm, but an accident happened to him. His arms got like, you know, cut up, so he can't, and he also has like a disease, and proceeds to kidnap Oto because Oto will make him like curable or something like that. Okay. Okay. Right? Who else? What else was like there? That also comes in play with like Rei, because he also forms like a contract with one of the calamities. One of those calamities, I forgot like his name. It's been like a long time. Which yields to Hoeru getting like specifically like 2 power-ups. Yeah, 2 like power-ups. The first power-up was Wild power-up, which is Goji Wolf Akatsuki. Yeah, or Wild Goji Wolf. And then the Zord power-up is like Akatsuki Take a Sword. That comes from like what was it? An episode arc where Fire Candle gets beaten so bad that like which I gotta say, Fire Candle, this is like a G. Like he's like a proud warrior of the Bryden, and he sticks with the Bryden like true and true, right? Like even though he's a villain, he could be like a kooky son of a bitch, right? That could join the team, but nah, he's a man's man. He's a man, you know? Fire Candle was feeling that insatiable thirst for power. I need more power. Gets a hold of the Orca Booster, which is like a godlike relic that powers up a Universe Warrior or even like a Gozyuger's ring power to its utmost potential. Think of like unlocked potential in like Dragon Ball Z or something like that, you know? But Fire Candle cooled down after like the power-up debut. And then the second power-up that it's a universal power-up that is applied to everyone, but starts with like Hoeru, which is the Goji Wolf Take a Sword, which is like it kind of just almost looks like what was it? Remember Ryu Soldier with like Ryu Soul Calibur, and they got this big ass fucking like cape thing? That's what it is to me, you know? That's what it is. That's what it is. Ow, itchy. right? And then we get to, right, that's like the third power-up, and actually, sorry, that's the second arc, which leads to like the third arc. I think like, no, that's like the second round. Well, there's more to like the second round, which is like they beat Ray, they beat like the Calamity, they beat the Calamity, well, first of the Calamities. They beat also another Calamity that was in like a movie, it was like a summer movie and all that shit, you know, like, but that's like a movie thing. Like, basically it was just like Pestis or things like that kills like Tegazord like one shot, and it's up to like the Gozyugers to fight like a series of like antics, and everybody transforms into like a universe red for movie purposes, you know. There's also even a red version of like Tegazord, things like that. But that's like movie, you know. But I did like talk about the movie in some capacity. It was alright. It was cool. Then we get to like the third arc, which is some noticeable changes. Oh well, second arc. Yeah, let me finish like the second arc because they defeat Rei. Otto still is unconscious. She's saved, but still is unconscious. Rikuo gets his closure. Ryugi gets his closure from his parents, right? In one like sub episode where one arc that he had where he had to like quit being like the #1 Tegazord believer, and it falls to like an alien. Kinjiro's still doing like his thing like throughout. But Rikuo was dealing with dilemmas of like how to deal with Rei because he's gone full psycho, full creeper mode. Thrashing around like Sumino every chance he could like get, and poor Sumino just like trying to find like her sister. She's been through rough, you know. But Rei, it was like apprehended. Rikuo got closure, Sumino didn't. Then we hit to like the third arc where we saw noticeable changes with the cast and crew, which we'll save like later, of course. But we got more like lore about like Kuon and Hoeru, where Kuon was, you know, teleported randomly, right, to the No One world with Hoeru, and that was like revealed like in the first interaction that like they had. It was revealed that like Kuon just was kind of like, I need more power, right? He absorbs Tegajun's and becomes like a powered up form, fights like Hoeru, blasts Hoeru, talks shit to Hoeru, telling him that he wasn't there when he needed him the most, basically, even though he's like denies it and deflects it, and later redeems his ways by like sacrificing himself so that Hoeru could live, and later is transformed to like, you know, a toy merch exclusive for the rest of the show, for the rest of the episodes after that moment, you know. There was also like Rikuo's thing where, or more specifically Bouquet, where Bouquet finally found out that like, oh, Rikuo was Goju Blue after an episode arc where Rikuo offs another creation by Tegajun, which was Ribbon, who was this duplicitous like character that like acts all cute but is like, you know, actually really like evil. Bouquet even like treated her like a sister, but after Rikuo Blue killed her, offed her, Bouquet goes mad berserk, like she felt betrayed, you know. And Rikuo and Bouquet have this like, you know, emotional battle between each other, right? Bouquet. Oh, and there was also the second. Oh yeah, that's right. Shiny Knife and Sweet Cake, right? Because those two were like, one half is Fulbrighton, the other half is a servant of the Calamity, but gets later warped by like the Calamity, kills like Sweet Cake, and goes on a murderous spree, a chaos spree, but then recovers back, you know. That was like in the second arc. But now like in the third arc, it was Bouquet, and Bouquet fights Rikuo, loses, but later reforms to like the good side and becomes #1 Rikuonist, right? Or like #1 Riku fan. You know, Rikuo fan. And as the final round dwindles down to like the last episodes, we get like we get to like see more stuff about like Kuon, which I said Kuon sacrifices himself, becomes like a Toei merch. So Bryden is like technically done. Tegajun also reforms her ways. The only one that's like left is like Fire Candle, and Fire Candle makes a pact with the Calamity. Fire Candle a fucking G. But the Calamity is like the main villain after like after that point in time, going forward into like Gozyuger. And it dwindles down to a final round, final battle between all of the Gozyugers, right? So we get to see round 1 with before that we get to see like what was it? The fan-created exclusive that was specifically for Super Sentai, Origa Red, right? An original creation made by a wee lad who really loves Super Sentai. Origa Red was a cool design. He looked badass. He fights badass. He is a Boy Scout though, because it's Super Sentai, right? They're all Boy Scouts. He's from an original universe, right? Unknown to like the Gozyugers and unknown to us because he is like totally brand new. Teams up with the original Kaku Ranger, which I did say like the Sentai rings, like participants who wear the Sentai rings borrows the power of the respective Sentais, respective red Sentais. Or more specifically, they wear the reds, but borrows the specific Sentai's powers, you know? If an original owner, right, if like, let's say, Kaku Ranger Ninja Red wears the Kaku Ranger ring, his power increases tenfold, right? Even like mollywops, like some of like the Gozyugers, you know? Like, he is that good for like base form because he is the original. No power-ups, no nothing, you know? We'll save like that point, like, we'll add more to that point like later. Third arc, they fight another like Calamity. Origa Red returns to his like dimension as well as like the original Kaku Ranger, Kaku Red, or Ninja Red, yeah. Ninja Red Sasuke. But Fire Candle, feeling like betrayed that everyone left his ass and all of this like bride and homies are like gone, consumes the Calamity power. I think it was specifically the Famine Calamity's power, and uses Calamity powers himself, right? But anyway, gets to like the final battle. Kinjiro versus Sumino. Sumino wins. Then it was Ryugi versus Rikuo. Ryugi wins, technically, because it's like the framework of that episode was like there was no clear winner. It was just more like Rikuo fucking DQ'd himself, right? In a sense, to become like a #1 idol. And there was supposedly going to be like a Hoedo versus like a Kumade matchup, but then the last Calamity showed up, which was Lex, who is the leader of the Calamities and wants to create like a balance system of life and death. This bitch just fucking erases people like Thanos style from Infinity War. You know, like, what the fuck? Kumade makes the brave like sacrifice of ending Lex, taking himself with him, right? And all that's left in the dust was Hoedo, and he becomes #1, not not by choice, but by, you know, course of action. And it sucks because, like, throughout Gozyuger, Hoedo was just, you know, vibing with the crew, right? Even though he was, you know, doing his own thing, right? But slowly as, like, the season rolled out, it's like, he always calls himself the lone wolf, but at the end, he finally found himself his pack, right? He found a place where he calls his home, you know? And the universe ring battle like is over, so it's like he's left alone. Poor fucking Horeru, dog. At that point, lost his girl, lost his bro, lost his job, lost his friends. All for what? You know? So the final episode kicks in, and like it's Hoedo versus like Sentai version of Fire Candle. Fire Candle, like, just what a fucking G, what a man, you know? Like, he wants to like fight till his like last breath. But the Gozyugers with the revived cast, you know, played out like fucking endgame shit. You know, really is. It's like the last 2 episodes of Gozyuger played out like Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. If you really want to think about it, Avengers was just that big popular. Like, Sentai just copies the fucking homework. You know, like... like, it's cool, but damn, bro, Avengers was really influential. Like, to be real. To be real. But yeah, like, the final battle, defeats Fire Candle, the Gozyugers, continue with their lives, even get, like, their closures, you know? Goju Polar, Kumade comes back as a real god. Hoedo wins, like, 2 battles, 2 ring wars in a row, right? And his wish is, like, I just want to chill with my pack. And that's the end of, like, Gozyuger. Alright, alright. Alright, Mom said, I gotta go down to dinner real quick, homies. Alright. But now we talk about the pros and cons, and, well, essentially, well, within, like, the cons is the very much elephant in the room, well, 2 elephants in the room that has played Super Sentai. Let's start off with, like, pros first, because I want to, like, do pros first, because I wanted to do pros last, because I want to be, you know, nice to Gozyuger, but maybe we'll, like, readdress it, you know, things like that. Well, no, let's do this. Let's talk about, like, the cons. Let's just, like, get it out there, you know? Let's just get it out there with, like, Gozyuger, and then we could, like, highlight some, like, good things, you know? To make it, you know, why it's, like, special, you know? So, the first elephant in the room, right, that is contained in Gozyuger is the talks that Super Sentai is over. Super Sentai is donezo after Gozyuger, right? This was, you know, coming into the wind via rumors and leaks, which were surfacing around like late October to early like November, that Super Sentai is like dying. Why is that so? It can't be like dying, man. It's like doing kind of like well, you know. Well, actually, it is, and that is the reason why that Super Sentai like cancellation eventually became like a reality in early November. That yeah, Super Sentai is done after Gozyuger, and what's going to be replacing Gozyuger is going to be obscure Tokusatsu IPs that they got in their bank vault, and one of them that they brought back as part of their like Project Red, as they were like call it, initiative, outside of like Ultraman, because Ultraman is doing its like its own thing, is Space Sheriff Gavin is going to be their next quote-unquote big step to be away from Super Sentai. And the reason why Super Sentai is away is mostly down to like Toei merch sales, right? Unfortunately, so we have been seeing like numerous adaptations of Super Sentai shows, right? Right? That have been non-stop. Well, most of them are like bangers, you know, but some of them are okay-ish, you know. I'm not gonna say specifically which ones, but you know, Super Sentai has been steadily like continuing their path of, you know, making each season a new Sentai team, right? Something like that, right? Something like that, you know? However, that is like the show itself, but that is the show itself. The toy merch or the toy sales are what predominantly determine a Sentai is like doing successfully well, and if a Sentai is like doing successfully well or if it's like flopping. And for the past few years, Sentai has not been doing well financially wise, and hence like Sentai is going to be falling off like the cliff, you know. I have this like great like illustration that I have, which I can like pull up, right? My face is covering some of the Reiwa characters. Like behind me are like Saber and Revice and Geets. I know that they had like an uptick around Gotchard and Gaff, right? But these are like the comprehensive toy sales of Tokusatsu. Once again, this is kind of like the reason that like why they are dying or they are taking a hiatus, tomato, whichever one you want to like, you know, associate the phrases with for Super Sentai. Yeah, like the toy sales have not been doing good. They've been steadily going like downhill, right? Whereas like Kamen Rider, for example, they got like highs with like Ryuki, right, because of like the card like motif, but ever since like Decade, right, they've just been hitting like high marks all around, and like Kamen Rider has got like the toy merch sale on like lockdown. That's mostly down to like the lock and key theory, which I've heard a long time ago in another like in another Discord server, where it all relates to anniversary seasons, right? So what I mean by that is, say you have like let's say you have like W over here, right? W's like driver gimmick is all about like the USB dongles, the USB drives, and the W drive, the W belt that is what they're like known for. They transform into Kamen Rider W, right? Very intricate like henshin devices and trinkets, right? That's mostly there for like, you know, its own series. But the Japanese toy developers thought of like a way that, oh, these USB drives, why don't we make them accessible? And what I mean by that, to older seasons. Let's make a Gaia memory out of like Decade, Kiva, Den-O, Kabuto, things like that, right? All the way up to like, I think there's like I don't know if there's like a Gaia memory of like Kuga, but they found a way to implement older, you know, Kamen Rider shows / seasons as anniversary henshin trinkets and use them for years to come, and they would still be like usable. This trend continued with O's, with Fours, with Wizard, Gaim, you know. Like the highest peak of this like theory was in Zio with all of like the ride watches and have special sounds and cool ass like monologues to honor and respect older seasons. This is the lock and key theory, which
utilizes past seasons to cater to not only young fans who may be interested in older shows, but also older fans that grew up with like OG Kuga and shit like that. They just capitalized on that theory and it has been skyrocketing for them. Super Sentai, not so much. They've just been doing their own thing, you know, ever like since. The highest one would be like to validate that theory would be Gokaiger, because Gokaiger has like all of the Gokai Ranger keys that celebrate past Sentai teams. Zyudenshi maybe for like other reasons, but Gokaiger was the biggest one to appropriate the lock and key theory for Tokusatsu toys. There's also like Zenkaiger and Dawn Brothers for using like the Avataro like gears, but they're not as cool, but they're not as, you know, flavorful as Gokaiger though, right? Even though they're anniversary seasons, but probably it's like something else entirely, you know? But once again, the main reason why Tokusatsu is ending Super Sentai is because of Toei merch, and they have been consistently flopping, like not making enough profit, right, for Japanese shareholders and business execs to turn in, and thus like Super Sentai is dying, which is really like really unfortunate that like toy sales determined like if a show is like dying or living. Yeah, that's why like Sentai is ending with Gozyuger, because this is like the last straw, and Sentai will be entering a hiatus with Super Space Sheriff Gavin Infinity, you know, carrying the hopes and wishes of Sentai. But a lot of people are doom scrolling and doom posting that Sentai is over, saying like their farewells and stuff like that. I don't think it's over. Much like, you know, the recent like drama that's going on with like, you know, my fighting game ass 2XKO, that like undercutting like the staff because they couldn't meet like budget what was it, marks? And a lot of people are saying 2XKO is like dying, even though it's like factually it's not, because it's just undercutting of like staff. Very wrong that those that those select dev people that were working on 2XKO or are working on 2XKO got laid off. Yeah, man, it sucks, right? So Sentai will come back, but we just don't know when, and so everybody's saying like their farewells and stuff like that. So that's the other reason Super Sentai is dying, right? That's the one elephant in the room that was contained within Gozyuger. Now, the other elephant in the room that I made a video talking about this very like lightly, but we're gonna go full like, I don't know if we should be like aggressive, but yeah, it's really much despicable of, you know, how it happened and never got any proper justice, and it's like, fuck Toei. Is the Maya Imamori scandal, right? For everyone that knows, y'all know this, but for those that don't know or who have been, I don't want to be rude, but living under a rock, you know, of like why the change up happened. The Maya Imamori scandal happened at around like late October to early November, around the same time frame as like Super Sentai is ending. Very like badly ironic, you know? But Maya Imamori was the actress for Sumino Ichikawa, for Sumino Ichikawa Goju Unicorn, right? She was the 5th member of Gozyuger until news came out of Maya Imamori that she was not going to be the Goju Unicorn anymore. Rather, she was going to be, she got replaced by a voice actor and another Super Sentai character, Kohaku Shida, who played Haruka Ito as Oni's sister from Dawn Brothers. The reason why she got the reason why she got like canceled and immediately like swapped for Goju Unicorn is that rumors have been spreading that she was drinking under a very inappropriate like age. There's some stuff about like deep within like Japan like laws. So Maya Imamori was like 18, 19 years old, right, when she was cast as the role of Goju Unicorn, and the Japanese drinking law was 20, and so she was caught and seen drinking alcohol, things like that, you know, right? Just again, like, you know, to be to describe and explain. And Toei Tokusatsu caught wind of this and immediately canceled, fired Goju Unicorn, and the whole Gojuger staff have to deal with this whole like situation, not only just like rapid, hastily casting change-ups, but also plot change-ups, because the original script was going to have Maya Imamori all the way to the end of the show, but because of that shit that happened, it was like we didn't see the original vision, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg, where Goju Unicorn, yes, she has been caught drinking, but it's like, it was not entirely her fault, because there were a lot of like other scandals that were like surrounding her, where she was having an affair with a suit actor who does the stunt coordination with Goju Wolf. And then there was also like rumors spreading about her being like harassed for her nationality in Japan. So all of these things were like, well, Maya Imamori is like half Japanese, half Filipina. But all of these things were like swirling around her, and who was circulating that swirl of like news was like a Japanese tabloid agency called Seiju. Think of them as like the equivalent of like TMZ, right? Shitty ass TMZ that likes to like snoop on, like they're like snooty ass like fucking paparazzi, stuff like that, you know? Right? So all of these things were like swirling around Maya Imamori, which, you know, prompted her to consume alcohol. And because of it was mostly down to like Seiju's fault, right? For being like a scummy tabloid agency. Like, how could this happen to like Maya Imamori? Like, that was like our girl, that was our iconic Goju Unicorn, high class and luxury, right? And Goju Unicorn, or Maya Imamori, got kicked to the curb, right? She was like out of Gozyuger, replaced by another veteran Sentai actress. She later made an apology of like her actions on Instagram, but once again, it was like none of it was her fault per se. Like all of like the spiraling like media like drove her to the point of like drinking alcohol, you know, and all of like the stuff with the tabloid agents, like all of the stuff with the tabloid agency, and how Japanese like, you know, mindset works for anyone that's like not purely Japanese. Again, well, not again, but I'll say that it's like a whole can of worms getting into like those topics. But yeah, it sucks because Toei, you're supposed to like protect, or Tokusatsu, Super Sentai, you're supposed to protect your agents. You're supposed to protect your actors from all this like kind of like scrutiny, but instead you just like downright kick her ass to the curb. No, I'm sorry, and just almost and just even ridiculed her in a later episode. Like this all happened after episode or on episode 38, right? Episode 38 of Gozyuger was a Kumade Mashiro episode about like fashion, right? The original like scenes of episode 38 included Maya Imamori, but when that episode dropped, there were mad, very like deliberate and very easily telling edits that Maya Imamori was supposed to be in that episode, and she was just like gone. She was just gone to the wind, you know? And Kumade Mashiro, I love Kumade Mashiro, but he was dead ass fucking drinking on the fucking show, like quote unquote drinking. You see his ass getting drunk by consuming large amounts of honey because he's a honey addict, right? So this man just becomes drunk. That's perfectly okay, but a lot of people that saw that episode, I mean, kids won't know, but it's very ridiculing of Maya Imamori, right? Which is like, that's fucked up. Like, what the fuck, Toei? What the fuck, Super Sentai? It was at that moment where I was seeing like the news and rumors actually like being realized on social media, and once I saw that episode, I was deadass for the first time in my life watching these Super Sentai shows. I'm like, yeah, I kind of don't like Super Sentai anymore. Like, deadass, bro. Like, fuck. This shit is like downright despicable and insulting. Like, what the fuck is this bullshit, bro? And yeah, like, very like disrespectful to Maya Imamori, and thus she's like once again made an apology on Instagram, has, you know, been under the she's not on the radar, but she's been under the radar. She's been like hiding, or I think she like returned back to what was it, the Philippines maybe, or something like that. But a lot of people poured their outcry for Maya Imamori, which, you know, me especially, like, damn, bro, like, how could this happen to like one of our favorite like girls in this year's like Super Sentai? Like, she was charming, she was, you know, adorable, she had like clear motives and motivation, especially for like her character with Sumino. For her to be like, her character got kicked to the curb and we never see her resolution, her character, her dynamic, right? It was even like telling, like in some of like the previous episodes before episode 38, where Rikuo was dealing with all the Rei shit. Bro, she just kept getting like beat up like over and over again. Like, she doesn't get any of her closure. And then after like episode 38, once she got like replaced, like, kudos to Kohaku Shida for putting on like a good performance, but it doesn't justify like what the original actor had to like go through, and what was her story gonna like be like, what was her like satisfying, you know, moment, what's gonna be like her thing. And there was even like an unaired episode 39 which, you know, has her moment in the sun, has her take on the Ryo Tega sword, like the big ass like broadsword that they debuted in this show. Like, that now it's like null and void because of like Japan policies. What's the Japan policy, which, you know, some arguments can be made that's like fair, par for course, is that this Power Rangers. Well, it's essentially Power Rangers in Japan, but Power Rangers, Super Sentai are like the equivalent of Bluey or Sesame Street, right? In that like similarity, they are both for kid shows, right? They not only are they like marketed for like kid shows, but they are, you know, monumental for kids, like, you know, moralities growing up, you know, like these shows impart on children like good wholesome like values about integrity, being heroic, you know, standing up for what's right, you know, being overall nice people. And Japan has a very, very strict television law that if actor A does some like malicious shit, like drinking on scene, smoking on scene, or just like potentially like offing somebody, their ass is like cut off. Japanese families, specifically parents, take their children's like, you know, entertainment very fucking seriously. And Toei are under the watchful eye of parents, because parents have very much higher say about like these tokusatsu shows, right? Kamen Rider can technically get away with it. You know what's a medium? You know what two mediums that can technically get away with like parental supervision? Anime and manga. They can technically get away with like unless it's like a TV show maybe where there's some like weird stuff, like changing like blood to like black, if you're thinking about like Naruto or something like that. Or maybe like Bleach. You know, yeah, Bleach is a better example of censorship, to some levels. Yeah, like Japan or Toei are, you know, scared of parents that if they see that shit, they will complain to Toei. And why is my kid learning about like drinking, right? Why is my kid learning about all these like cuss words? You know? And so Toei and Tokusatsu made like the rash like action of cutting off Maya Imamori, and we never saw her again. I had to deadass, for example, well, not for example, sorry, it's a story that I had about Gozyuger when all of this stuff is like going on is there was this one person I was arguing on like Twitter about the actions that Toei took to cancel and silence Maya Imamori, even though she made like an apology post. I would continuously say like fuck you Toei and fuck you Seiju, but I would mostly consider like fuck you Toei because, you know, they were complicit with that action, you know? It is mostly down to like Seiju's fault, the tabloid and also like the talent agency for not properly protecting Maya Imamori from all of these like illicit behaviors, you know? Oh, sorry, not behaviors. All these illicit events. And the guy that I was like arguing with was like, he kept using words. Well, this is like a trigger word that I have like on Twitch whenever I go live, is that use the phrases I mean over and over again to just sort of like say, yeah, he feels bad, but he doesn't want to like disregard or disrespect Toei because what can they do in like in this situation? Nah, fuck that. You've seen in like IRL, right? Like big like billionaire, trillionaire like companies just like having, you know, their needle in like in the thumb, their thumb in the needle, yeah, thumb in the needle, saying that like, you know, they have control and action for that situation, and there's no like, you know, powers to fight back or, you know, defend Maya Imamori, so they just like cancel her. Like, I still put like Toei like under the bus because like, dude, you didn't like carefully like think about like, you know, what to do. You just execute like her ass essentially. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, why do that? You know, there could have been a lot more calmer like paths that y'all could have like took if you took the time to do it. But no, they had to run a seasonal show, right, for kids, and on top of that, Super Sentai is over, so they gotta finish like, you know, doing their closing buyouts or sellouts, right, if sellouts is the appropriate word. And that's just like, bro, man, fuck Super Sentai. Well, fuck Super Sentai. I mean, Super Sentai has some bangers, you know, but there was no level of like protection and agency for Maya Imamori. She just got unfairly, unjustly kicked to the curb. I had this whole argument with this person, and he was just like a fucking idiot. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's Twitter, right? There are loads of like weird, creepy assholes on like Twitter that either like gush about Maya Imamori for being a cute, kawaii like little girl to the point of like very dirty thought reasons, or the fact that like she's like she's like in a weird like what was it? In a weird rumor or like thought process, half Filipina, and so Japan has like a strong like, well, this is too deep, xenophobic stance on like, you know, on like anyone that's not purely like Japanese, you know, like there's like even an instance where Gokai Pink from Gokaiger, right, Ahim de Famille, right, we didn't know she was Filipina until she later came out after the show was like over. Some years like after, she came out as like, you know, Filipina, because like imagine the scrutiny that she got being like Filipina, you know, like back in the day. Like it would be kind of like a mirror of what we would have like seen with Gozyuger back then. You know, so it sucks that it became like that way, right? So those are like the two like big elephant like in the rooms, you know, for Gozyuger, and that's like kind of like why I give Gozyuger, the closing Sentai, a 7 out of 10. Like, it's good because the pros for Gozyuger is that it is very charming. It is very cool, right? Like all of the fighting game elements, all of like the battle royale aspect, the fighting game aspects, you know, like the character dynamics and their resolutions, Hoeru growing as like a character, my boy Fire Candle being the most absolute goddamn G there is, bro. Like Gozyuger having Fire Candle steals the fucking show. Fire Candle steals the show, man. Like, the fuck, bro? How is that possible? That this bitch, like, a comical fucking villain having serious fucking potential, you know? Like, what the fuck? So it has all of like these elements that make number 1 Sentai Gozyuger fucking charming as hell, and it just fuels my fighting game. It just fuels my fighting game itch. Harada, Katsuhiro Harada, right, quote tweeted the first episode of number 1 Sentai Gozyuger as like a 10-hit string from his own game, former own game, Tekken. You know, definitely a lot of like fighting game accoutrements in there. You know, outside of like some other issues that I've like heard about, like AI usage, which is like, ugh, AI usage. I did not see any of that. I might have to like look again carefully. I also like their morphers. I also like how it's like rock, paper, scissors. I like the collection aspect of like the rings and stuff like that. I like the utilization of like their powers and like other things like, damn, this Sentai was good, but it became sour because of those things. It's like, again, because of those two, it became like a 7 out of 10 for me, right? It's like, damn, this is how Sentai is ending. Like, put it in like in that perspective. This is how Sentai is ending, with one of the controversial like Sentais to ever like come out because of the scandals that like it happened. Right? Back to like Maya Imamori, there's more than plenty scandals in Super Sentai like history. Let's look at like Reddit over here. Like, one of the Gal Rangers touched a suit actress on stage inappropriately and immediately got reprimanded by Gal Red. Oh, jeez and rice. Battle Japan was in the news a few years back for legal troubles. He got into real estate. There were some issues regarding him allegedly forcing someone to into selling him a building that was a landmark. Oh jeez. Volpander actor got convicted for assaulting a high school girl in 2013. Oh jeez and rice. Tsurugi Watanabe, Tusk, Zuyo Elephant was involved in a biking accident where he left the scene for 20 minutes. Neither Toei nor Tsurugi released a statement. Yeah. Oh, and the infamous one. Gokai Silver extorted an assload of yen out of an elderly man by posing as a police officer and has shown zero remorse from it. All of like these things, right? Like, there are other extreme acts that these Sentai characters have done, but Toei is like ready to dismiss Maya Imamori right off the fucking bat. But these guys can technically get away with it. Well, they did, like, you know, get caught or some shit like that, right? But Maya Imamori was just caught up in all that stuff. She was feeling like so much pressure. Again, like the spiraling cycle of news and rumors affected her mentality, like, which forced her to, like, you know, drink. It's not her issue at all, but it's, you know. And Toei is still doing that shit, you know? Like, hiring technically underage actresses to play like these like mature roles. Gavin? Bro, like, what was it? Gavin Luminos is like, they're like 17 and 15 respectively, dog. Like, what the fuck? There are a lot of other scandals that were in Super Sentai, right? But it's unfair to Maya that she got like canned like that. And that is what's marking like the end of Super Sentai, is that shit. That's what Gozyuger is going to be like known for. Hey, you know that show about rings? Oh, the one where, you know, our cute girl Maya Imamori got canned, right? And Toei didn't say anything. Seiju like getting away with their actions and shit like that. So fucked up. Super fucked up, you know? But once again, it does have like its charming points of what the shit they were doing. They were like, you know, selling. Like, this shit was really cool, you know? Like, like fighting game like inspired battle royale of like rings, and you get to like interact with other universe warriors that are wearing like these rings, stuff like that. And it was an anniversary season, so you would see like previous like Sentai or even like Kamen Rider actors playing roles to be in this like Sentai, you know? And that shit is like gone now. Oh, well, that shit has like, you know, little to no effects now. In terms of like, you know, how engaging they are, it's like, man. Well, then again, I'm feeling like high up there because of like my feelings of what was circulating around Gozyuger, but it was fun to like watch. It was fun to like watch all the way up to like, you know, the end. Even Kohaku Shide did like a really good job like portraying like trying to like, you know, adjust to the role of Sumino Ichikawa, but it was at the late game of Gozyuger, and at the very late game she got like little to no character like development. There was no like closure for her. She was just like a pretty face, and at most times she was even like green screened, not even like with the crew. She didn't even like interact with like, you know, the rest of the Gozyuger. She was just, you know, on a set, right? She was just on a set, not with like everybody. So it's just so rough, man. Like, what the fuck, Super Sentai, you know? So I give like Gozyuger like a 7 out of 10, you know? I give Gozyuger a 7 out of 10 because, yeah, all the shit that was like going around for this like season, it just like angers me. Even though it has some really cool, charming things that they use, but it just was like, well, all over the place, I feel. It was just not that consistent. The best part about like Gozyuger was definitely Fire Candle. Fire Candle definitely sold that series for me, for being like, you know, a hokey like kooky villain but has like serious like, you know, arcs. God damn, Fire Candle's awesome. But yeah, like, that's Gozyuger, man. It freaking like sucks, bro.